Welcome to the Entrepreneurial CEO Podcast, where we dive into the real stories behind building and scaling a business. Each episode, we sit down with CEOs, founders, and leaders to uncover hard-won lessons in leadership, systems, and team building. Listen in each week to learn directly from real business leaders who have been in your shoes, had success, made the mistakes, and all of the messiness that comes with building a business. If you're ready to learn from real-world leaders and gain insights you can apply today, you're in the right place. So let's get started. Everyone, welcome back to the show. Kyle, thanks so much for being here, man. Cato, good to see you.
Thanks for having me. Big fan of the show.
Absolutely.
Great to be here. Thanks, Kyle.
All right, everyone. Welcome back. Today's guest is Kyle Ewing, serial entrepreneur and CEO of TerraSlate Paper. Kyle launched TerraSlate in 2015 to solve a simple problem: menus that fall apart in the rain. I'm in Boston. It rains all the freaking time, so I know. And has since built it up. He's built it up into a multi-million-dollar business, serving customers in over 85 countries, and now has multiple other ventures that we're going to talk about today, which is awesome. Kyle is a Colorado Titan 100 honoree, adventure athlete, veteran of multiple startups, which makes him a perfect person to come on here and talk about how you build and scale a company and go from that entrepreneur to CEO. So Kyle, thanks so much for being here, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys. I think this is going to be a fun conversation. I have been looking forward to it since we did the pre-show.
Yeah.
Nice.
So before we fire into all the questions, maybe just tell the audience a little bit more about your business, what you're doing now. Yeah.
Sure thing. My primary business is called TerraSlate Inc., and we manufacture and print durable substrates. So what that means is effectively waterproof paper. Now, what I did is I realized lamination is a very basic technology. It was invented in the 30s, and we're still using it. I'm sure you guys are aware it cracks, peels, and falls apart. The one thing people don't realize is that lamination is not recyclable. What you've done is effectively made a sandwich. It's plastic, paper, plastic, and there's no cost-efficient way to separate those. So it goes in the landfill. Cannot recycle this. With TerraSlate, we make it out of a very high-grade, very pure material. It doesn't have any paper in it. There's no trees cut down in the making of it. But what's cool is it can be fully recycled, and it has a lot of reuse ability. So we're big on that: reduce, reuse, recycle. So TerraSlate is my primary business. You guys have all held the product. If you ever go out to eat, we make about 250,000 restaurant menus a month. So if you've eaten out and the menu doesn't rip, that's us. In my spare time, I've been building a company called the Big Island Honey Company. I bought the business about 18 months ago, and we make very high-end honey. It's about $160 a jar, and it's unlike honey that you would buy in a bear off the shelf. And then my newest venture is called Windward Equity, and we are investing in new companies, building out startups, figuring out how we can build, buy, and scale with the systems that I've developed and built at TerraSlate.
That's awesome, man. Two questions. What is it about the honey that makes it so high end? Because my daughter loves honey and eats it every day. And then two, just before I forget, with Windward Equity, is there a particular thesis or like specific types of startups that you're investing in or looking at?
Yeah. So what makes the honey unique is that this apiary, which is what you call like a bee farm. So this apiary is 2,500 feet above sea level, and it's on the side of a volcano. And it has this really unique climate because of the direction that it faces, the way the trade winds come in, the way the rain hits it. And then in addition to that, you can control very tightly what types of flowers are planted by the hives. And that means that the bees will pollinate and do their thing with very specific flowers. And then, oh, by the way, because it's on the side of a volcano, the flowers grow in this ultra mineral rich soil. And so you get these incredible flavors that come through the flowers because it's basically like the perfect environment to grow these flowers. These bees are somewhat unique. And then the process is somewhat unique, and the honey comes out white. So it's almost like a spread more than it is like a honey that you could pour. And people love it because it's a very delicate taste, and it will sweeten something like a very high-end tea without changing the flavor or overpowering the flavor of that tea. So I eat it with a spoon. People do all types of cooking with it. but I'll send you both a jar. Just send me your addresses after the show. I think you'll get a kick out of trying it.
That's awesome. I'm sure my daughter would love it. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And question number 2, I think was about Windward Equity. And I have another firm that I've invested in startups with before, but Windward Equity is about fun, right? So like I'm living in Hawaii. One of the projects that I'm working on right now, and it's not public, although it will be once we talk about it here, is I'm considering putting together a new company that does day sailboat tours. So for instance, we would buy a catamaran and then all of the associated permits, which in Hawaii is a major pain in the butt, put those two together and then offer a new and better experience of doing whale watching, which is huge in Maui. There's like something like 500 whales a day that sail like right past the back of my screen here, or swim, and lots of turtle snorkeling, things like that. So there's an opportunity there to have a lot of fun. And the aspect that I'll tell you is my wife has told me that while we're moving to Hawaii, I'm not allowed to buy a boat because there are money pits. As everybody knows, it's the best and the worst
She's
day.
not
You're
wrong.
like,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. But here is the catch. And she's an attorney. So I love to figure out the nuance, because she's very careful with her words. And what I'm allowed to do is buy a business. I'm not allowed to buy a boat, but I'm allowed to buy a business that operates a boat. And I pointed out this delta in the conversation, and she says, you know what? Approved. So Windward Equity is about investing in things that bring people fun. There's several $100 million of sailboat tours in Hawaii. I think there's a big opening in the market for somebody to come in, and I don't want to say disrupt, because I think that's an overused word, but improve, level up the experience. And really what that business is about is digital ads, because that's how people find you. Like, hey, I'm going to be in Maui. What should I do? And when they're here, cruising Instagram it in the evenings, like what ads popping up? That's how you're going to get tours. So that'll be the first thing that Windward Equity looks into. We may or may not move forward depending on a lot of things, but that's the first project we're looking to invest in.
I love that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we every time we're in Mexico, we get one of those boats. We get a big catamaran. We go out whale watching. We do it once or twice a year. It never gets old.
So fun. Exactly.
I know.
Not to go off on too much of a tangent, but I also think that with something like that, I personally, when we start planning vacations, I go into ChatGPT now and I prompt it, hey, you're an amazing travel agent. I'm going to begin in Maui. Tell me some things to do, put together an itinerary. So like optimization for AI and ChatGPT and these agents could be another channel for something like that.
I love that you mentioned that. And I was lucky enough to get to go to the TED conference in Vancouver this past April, and got to catch up with Sam Altman very briefly. But there are ways, and I'm not allowed to talk about it at that moment, but there are ways to teach ChatGPT about your business. And there are great ways to leverage that. And very few people are aware of that at the current moment. So big opportunity there.
Well, that's pretty interesting. That's a big tease right there. I want to learn more about that. That's a big tease. Well, cool. So let's talk about TerraSlate. So you've built that into a large business, a global business, and now you are stepping into a new chairman role. So maybe talk about that move, what prompted it. And we want to learn more about how you ensure that the business continues to thrive and operate, as you step into this new role.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a big change, because I've always been the manager, for better or worse, that wants to be able to see and touch each part of the business, because quality is what we sell at TerraSlate. We're in the print business. And like accounting, there is effectively no tolerance for mistakes. If you've got to hit the New York Jets green 1,000 times or 25,000 times, you better hit it exactly. And those Pantones are exact. Tiffany blue, Broncos orange, Whole Foods green. I mean, like, they have to be exact. And to be exact on a repeatable basis every single day, with new hires coming on, new operators running the equipment, different operators running the equipment on different days. The seasons in Colorado play a big part in calibration of machines and adjusting them. So what we build internally are processes and systems that make it repeatable. Now, it sounds super simple, but the mistake that I made in the past was exactly what I just described. I wanted to be able to check everything myself. Now, that might be an exaggeration, but I was worried that other managers and leaders in the business, if I brought them in, wouldn't understand why it's so important to be so exact in our delivery and that we got to hit the deadline. If that means staying late, we got to do that. If that means we got to reshuffle the deck in terms of prioritizing orders and calling customers, figuring out which customers we're going to call, who's flexible, who's not. I had worried that somebody couldn't do that. That's 100% where I was wrong. And you guys mentioned EO and the Entrepreneurial Master's Program at MIT in the pre-show, and that was a big takeaway for me, is that I am literally the bottleneck of my own business. And I had felt snake bitten. I had hired in some managers that were good but not great, that were helpful in some respects, but didn't understand the nuance or didn't understand that the customer sets the standard, not us. So we have to manufacture to the standard of the customer. And, for instance, the US military or military contractors, they have a tolerance that's basically zero. So we've got to figure out a way to do this, and saying, oh, I'm sorry, we missed it on this one, we'll reprint 25,000 sheets, can't be the answer, because our materials are sometimes $5 and $6 per sheet. So we can't just do what a regular print shop would do, which is, oh, sorry about that, let's redo it. So in my role, moving from CEO to what I've done over the last probably year and a half is build out a leadership team. I've got a COO, his name is Ryan. I've got a CFO, Mike, and several other folks that have become really pivotal in the operation of the business. And one of the things I love about what they do is when we see something, they bring it up at our weekly meeting as an issue, and we do issues and resolutions. Every week we will find a solution, or we will set a meeting or figure out what the to-do or follow-up is to get that resolved, and anything's on the table. And I would recommend that type of issues and resolutions meeting to any company out there. Now, if you only have one other person you work with, good. If you are a solopreneur, I think schedule an hour, go to the coffee shop, and be like, what are the biggest problems in my business? Write them down, and then put a plan together for each. That will make moves for growth faster than anything else you can do. And by the way, it costs zero.
Great.
Mike,
I love that.
Yeah, Mike, we couldn't agree more. With MAP, that's one of the key components of our monthly meetings. So we go through, we hit successes like, hey, what's going well in the business? But we also hit, hey, what are the issues? And then those have to translate into action items with an owner, with a date. Okay, who's got this? Or else, why are we talking about it? Somebody has to own this and own the resolution. But I love that. So you guys do that on a weekly basis. That's great.
Yep, weekly, and there can only ever be one owner of an issue. You can't have a co-owner. One person owns it. You can have collaborators, but like if Andrew, if it's your issue to fix, like you have to captain it. That doesn't mean you can't delegate out pieces of it and get help or hire a vendor or whatever it is. But it's got to have one owner. Otherwise, you always have that issue of it never really gets done.
Totally.
Did you I love that process. Kyle, did you find that like when you started this, that the issues that you were coming across were more sort of firefighting or reactive issues versus mid and long-term issues that you're trying to deal with?
Yeah. So here's how I'll take that question. As the owner of the business or the chairman, even if you're the CEO, your job is not to work in the business. Your job is to work on the business. And that's a pivotal mindset shift that you have to make, because if you're doing the day-to-day, if you're talking to customers all the time, if you're doing the sales, if you're at the trade shows, if you're on the production floor, you can't get into the creative space that you need to be in, which will allow you to build out the new idea to take the company up another level, add a product, add a service, kill a service, evaluate your customers. Maybe this is our biggest customer, but it's our least profitable and they cause us the most problem. Yeah. Maybe we need to figure out if that's the right fit. And you can't do that if you spend too much time on the front lines. Now, I think it's critically important to stay in touch, but usually if you're the founder of the company and you've done every job all the way up, you're going to have a pretty good sense along the way of what's happening at all levels of the company, but don't work in the business. You've got to work on it.
Get it? But I like that you said you still, as a founder, and there's so many conversations about founder-led versus replacing yourself with a CEO, blah, 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 blah. But you're right. You do understand everything, which allows you to not only stay in touch, but inspect what you expect and make sure that people are doing it the way it needs to be done. Now, I don't mean deep, but you need to be able to ask the right questions and have the right conversations.
And people have to be on your leadership team and further down. They have to be willing to take feedback without taking it personally. Like if I'm Kyle and I'm in the marketing department and my marketing initiative that I spent a bunch of money on and we were excited about, if it bombed, I've got to be willing to take ownership of that and not wait for the CEO or the chairman to be like, dude, what happened? I need to go straight to them and raise my hand and be like, you know what? Hey, I spent a ton of money. I thought this was a great idea. Here's what I knew going into it. Here's what I've learned. This is why it bombed. And this is why we're never going to make that mistake again. You will be their favorite employee ever because they can trust you. You're holding yourself accountable. And if you want more budget, if you want more responsibility, you want a promotion, be that person that's the first to say, hey, I screwed up, or this didn't go as planned, and bring it to them. Hey, boss, I'm about to miss a deadline. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you when I'm going to get it delivered. And let me tell you what I'm going to do to make sure that we never get into this position again. Like the girl or the guy that does that, oh my goodness, that is a legend at your company.
Right.
100%.
Instead of sitting there making excuses. I love that because nothing ever goes perfect, right? Everybody's going to make those mistakes. If you just own it.
And you wouldn't be in the position you are in if they didn't trust you to take a risk and make a mistake. We try to take a risk that if we fail, we can recover from. But within that pretty broad guardrail, like we want you to go try stuff. But if you, as the employee in that situation, if you either ignore it and hope nobody notices, like the CEO, whoever's in that role will for sure notice. So don't think that you will get away with it. And don't think by saying, oh, well, it was, this fault and that vendor and this person, like that is also not helpful. The first thing you need to say is, this is all on me, win or lose. Here's how this is. I'm going to go forward with this. It's either going to work, it's not going to work. And when it doesn't work, I'm going to bring it to you. And when it does work, I'm going to bring it to you. And that level of trust is what gets people promoted and gets raises, because that's what a CEO can build a company on. Folks like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's what builds it.
We just spoke. I'm sorry. I just had this conversation last week with, do you know Warren Rustand?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's an incredible guy.
Yeah. Him and I spent some time together last week. We both spoke at the same event. And I'll tell you, like, listening to him for 2 hours, you know what that's like, is life-changing every time you hear him. But that was one of the biggest things he talked about, is that how the speed of trust, how to build trust within your organization. That was so key to everything. So anyways, great point.
Yeah, he is so cool. Absolutely.
And it goes both ways, right? Because the people that work for you have to trust you and you have to trust them. And so like they have to trust that if they bring this to you, like you're not going to freak out, you're not going to flip out, they're not going to get fired. Like, hey, I'm bringing you this issue, this is a problem, this is how I solved it. So the trust goes both ways. You have to build that in the culture.
Absolutely. And I think it's hard to for folks to trust the CEO or whoever is in a leadership position above them or even 2 levels above them, because everybody at every level thinks I do all the work and the person above me does nothing. And the person 2 people above me, they really don't do anything. And oh my God, Kyle, he wears a Hawaiian shirt and he lives in Hawaii. That guy didn't do shit at this company. Because they don't have the visibility upward. Yeah. And so as you move up in leadership, it's your job and your duty to communicate the value of what you're doing in a way that people will trust you. And what I say is like, here is what I'm working on. And oh, by the way, here is what I just spent 30 days building, this AI tool. And some of them have been incredibly successful. Well, I built this one and it's a total bomb. I literally just lost a month's worth of work because it's basically useless for the purpose that I built it. But if I don't tell you that it's happened, it's not, then you don't know that it's okay that I made a mistake, which means you don't know that it's okay if you made a mistake, right? So like tell people what you're working on, tell them when it goes well. Hey, I just did this thing. I'm super excited. I recorded this podcast with these guys today. It was super fun. I'm going to share it with you as soon as it comes out. And then, oh, by the way, I shot the bed on this, man. I blew it up. It didn't work. And I let the company down because of that, and is it a major thing? Maybe yes, maybe no. But but I make mistakes too. And it's okay because we will recover. And if you make a mistake, I've got your back up and down the street, left and right, all day long.
I think that's great. So looking at the next, for TerraSlate over the next 12 months or 12 to 24, 36, what are your big goals and priorities? And what do you think might get in the way of that?
Yeah, what we're working on a regular basis is living in a 10x mindset, not a 2x mindset. A 2x mindset is we need to hire some people, we need to buy some more equipment, we need to call some more customers, whatever. A 10x mindset is how do we develop a system for hiring, recruiting, and onboarding people faster? Like truly a revolutionary system, and we built it, and it's incredible. Do I wish it was even better? Yes. But so in order to go, at one point it was like we were at 8,000. Okay, well then we had to get to 80,000 and 800,000 and 8 million and then 80 million. And in order to do that, it's you got to think about 10x on a daily basis. So everything you do, if it's an accounts receivable weird thing you got to do for that one account that's difficult because of whatever reason, don't just do it. Make a Loom video, record yourself doing it on the computer, and then put it in a system like Trainual, for instance, or whatever software you want to use, so that you never ever have to learn how to do that again, and you don't have to teach somebody. You can just say, hey, you're doing accounts receivable for that weird account. I got a Loom for you. Here it is. And then they can watch you do it. They know exactly how. And then everybody's following the same procedures. And here's what I love about it. If somebody goes rogue, they do a procedure on their own, or they do a process that's unique to them. They didn't follow the company process. If it blows up, it's on them, right? They did that. But if they followed the company process and it blows up, well, guess what? Now it's on me. And I would much rather have that happen, because then it means the process didn't work and we can fix the process. If everybody makes it up on their own, you have no consistency. It's incredibly hard to scale. You will take on your new biggest, shiniest customer and you will blow it because you didn't dot the I's and cross the T's along the way. So as soon as possible, document all your processes, make a Loom for everything you do, because then, we used to say get hit by a bus, but we don't say that anymore. So now what we say is if you get eaten by a purple dinosaur, somebody could step into your role and they could do it. And by the way, that lets you go on a 2-week vacation if you want to disconnect for 2 weeks and be gone, because we can do your job. We can fill it in. And that's super important.
So you mentioned Trainual. They're a partner of ours, and that's basically like an advertisement for them, right? Everything you just said, they're going to love, because that's what they preach, right? It's just the documentation of the processes and the SOPs for all the reasons you just mentioned. And it's totally true,
And it should be a commercial. I'm text buddies with the CEO. He's a super cool guy. And that software is well worth it, because
they have great technology. Yeah.
They have great technology. It's easy. People understand it. It's so nice on somebody's first day for them to log in to Trainual, and then it just walks them through. Like, this is the onboarding process. This is who you need to know. This is where to park. This is where not to park. This is like everything you need. And then they can reference back. And I don't know how we existed before it. Like it would be so hard to have reached what we've reached without it.
Yeah.
Hi, if you're a CEO out there who's struggling with focus for your company, aligning your team, accountability, if you're struggling with execution, connecting the dots from where you're at to where you want to be, we've got a great program for you here at MAP. My name is Michael Cato. I'm the CEO. Most importantly, I was a client for 15 years, sold my company to a public company, and then bought MAP so that we can help other entrepreneurs with this specific problem. We're a 60-year-old company. We've worked with 170,000 individual executives and CEOs. We've worked with 15,000 organizations. This is what we do. Click the link below to learn a little bit more about how people just like you, CEOs, have transformed their business and ultimately transformed their life by running through the MAP system.
Agreed. Yeah, we use it in the same way.
Nice.
You mentioned, so you're obviously big on systems. It sounds like you have some great systems for process, for accountability, for following up internally. Do you have use a formal system? Like, I know there's EOS, there's MAP, obviously ours. Like, do you have your own? Did you build your own, or do you use an existing one? What do you do?
We use EOS. entrepreneurial operating system. We have a great implementer. His name is Tyler Smith. I highly recommend him. He's actually in the book that Gino Whitman wrote about EOS, and his brother Brian is our COO. So we are very tightly ingrained with the entrepreneurial operating system community. And hey, there we go. Tyler Smith, shout out. That is awesome.
I know Tyler.
I don't have a sticker. Why don't I have a sticker, Tyler? I'll send this to him. Anyway, those types of systems are really good because it helps with accountability. Everybody's got a number that they're chasing. It's really easy for employees to see, am I doing a good job here? Am I like knocking it out of the park, or am I just doing okay? Am I bombing? And it's really easy for folks to be like, okay, this is where I'm at. And then when folks say, hey, I want to raise, it's really easy to say, okay, here's a great spot where we have a need. Let's plug you in there, deliver on that, and that spot is yours to keep. And the discipline of EOS is really helpful. It's really helpful in regard to scaling and discipline, which are just fundamental pillars if you want to scale. If you want to keep your business the same size and kind of putter along, I wouldn't worry about it. But if you're trying to grow, if you're trying to be a 5, a 10, or a $50 million company, you need a system like that because it's really hard to reinvent the wheel, and you don't need to.
You don't need to. Yeah, I think that's the key piece, right? It's like you don't. We talk about that when we're talking about anything, whether it's a go-to-market strategy or something. Like sometimes you just don't have to reinvent the wheel. If there's an existing system out there or process, use it, right? You use it and apply it to your business and keep moving. So if there's it's like there's just foundational elements. Totally agree. So,
I agree, and like that with anything. If there's a vendor that can do it better than you can do it internally, hire the vendor. Like we've been working with a company called Bloom Digital. They've been doing some work with our email marketing. The stuff they come up with, I'm just like, yes, I love the look of this. Like, holy shit! Like, where were you 10 years ago? I can't believe it took me this long to find you. So that typically you will pay more for a vendor to do it than it will cost you to do it internally. But you might be able to hire the best people in the world to do it on a fractional basis or a full-time basis or whatever makes sense for you, and use that. Like you don't have to do everything yourself. Like we have a fractional CFO, this guy, Mike Maxon from CRI Simple Numbers. I met this guy after taking the course at Wharton. And I mean, I would say he's probably the best CFO in the world. I would put anybody up against him, and he does it for our company. I mean, he sees business and sees the financials through this model that they built at a level that's unmatched anywhere. And I've done the executive education programs here, there, and everywhere. And I literally think the systems that they use are incredible. And I don't know why more people don't take advantage of it, because they're like, yeah, we have a CFO. And I'm like, great. But does he give you counsel? Is he like, hey, Kyle, here's where you're doing well, but y'all got to get on it over here. Or, hey, you have this opportunity. You have this like little glow that like fan that flame and let's turn that into something because that's a real opportunity. And to us, it kind of just looked like everything else, but they see it and they're like, plug that right there. Like, let's go on this. And then all of a sudden, boom, a year later, you have a totally different company, and it might be something that you wouldn't have seen, or that would have taken you another 12 months to see, that they opened your eyes too early. And now all of a sudden you're on a different trajectory. I mean, like, take advantage of that. You don't ever have to reinvent the wheel, basically.
Yeah, so right.
Do you have an example, maybe without getting, I don't know if there's any sensitive information, but like something where he's done that for your business, something he uncovered, or, some flame?
Yes. Okay. We, like 50. But here's how I'll give you an analogy. Okay. Say you're trying to buy a used car. All right. But it's an auction. So you can't look inside the car. They don't even let you see that mileage on this one. They won't let you see anything but the outside. He is somehow able to take your financial numbers and see the entire interior of the car. He's looking in the glove box. He's sniffing around under the hood. He's checking the tire pressure. And like you can only see it from over there, or maybe it's a picture, right? Like that's kind of what your finances often are to a lot of people. But the drill down allows you to see like, is this a good car? What would you do to improve it? What needs to be fixed? Can you make money on it? And there's so many things that you would miss if you don't live in finance every day. And like, I think of myself as a numbers person. Like I've always thought like, I'm a finance guy. Like this is what I want to do with my life. But getting in there and seeing like, okay, your spend on marketing is X and you're getting an 8X return for every dollar you spend on marketing. Either let's turn down the marketing because we could save some money, or maybe let's double down on marketing. If it's working that well, let's push some capital towards it. One specific tip from Mike that I'll share with you is that you should have 2 months of core capital in the bank at all times. So say your expenses on a monthly basis are $500,000. You need to have $1 million in the bank at all times that's liquid, because the companies that did that are the ones that made it through COVID. I won't say unscratched, but they made it through. They didn't do massive layoffs. They didn't change their core business. They didn't fall apart. And it's incredibly powerful to be able to sit on that cash, because when you need to make an investment, you have it. You have it ready. And it can take years to build up that much, or it could take months, whatever it is. But like if you have 2 months of core capital ready at any moment, you never miss payroll. You can always pay your vendors on time. You can pay people early if you're looking for a reciprocal favor. It allows you to do so much that you didn't realize when you operated at a lower amount. That we always target 2 months of core capital in the bank.
It's a good tip.
Yeah, it's a great tip. Do you use your fractional CFO? They don't do your accounting for you, your bookkeeping, correct? He just analyzes the data and gives you feedback every month. Is that how the process works?
It used to be, yes, and then we've since then hired them on to do our accounting as well, and that's been helpful in this one specific way. Typically, you get your accounting books closed at the end of the month, right? Like that's every business does that. And I was like, okay, but the problem is if we get it on the 5th or the 7th of the next month, that data, some of it's a month old. We're making decisions looking too far back. And so now what I said was when I want to take my accounting to CRI, I want to do it all in-house. I want to close the books every single week. I want to do weekly accounting. So every Friday, I want to see 3 things. I want to see my weekly P&L. I want to see my month-to-date P&L, and I want to see my year-to-date P&L, because we can make decisions so much faster when we do it that way. And then we do a monthly call with Mike, who's our CFO, to review the whole thing in the finance model.
Interesting. I'd never heard that idea before.
I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I like fast decision making. I like data that enables it. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
So earlier you talked about building out your executive leadership team, and you also talked about, with the 10X mindset, thinking about how you can onboard new people, hire and onboard new people, and build out the team and scale the company. We always talk about how managers are so critical to the performance of a company. They make or break it, right? And typically, a lot of people don't get that education, that training. What do you do with your team, whether it's executive or a first-time manager? How do you train them and guide them so that they can perform at a high level to your standards?
It's hard. I mean, I don't care who you are. That's the hardest part of business, because it's all about who, not how. And there's a great book on exactly that. When you get the right person in the right role, all of a sudden that whole department or division or section, whatever they run, whatever they manage, they make it look easy. And then all of a sudden the business will grow. When you get the wrong person, you have like all these challenges. You spend a lot of extra time managing them. It turns into a micromanagement situation. Nobody likes to micromanage. The reason that people get micromanaged in any company is that the person being micromanaged isn't doing the role well, because nobody has time to micromanage for fun. Nobody likes it. It's like doing paperwork. Nobody's like, cool, Sunday morning, babe, let's sign up for some paperwork emails that I can fill out with a pencil. Like it just doesn't work that way. So when you get the right person in the right role, in the right seat, magic happens. And that's what we're constantly focused on. It's really hard to do.
Yep.
We make plenty of mistakes. And the thing that really pains my soul, like to the core, is when we hire a great person and they're an incredibly good person, but they're not the right person for that role. And we have to let them go. It literally feels like it rips my guts and my heart out, and it throws them on the floor and steps on them. It kills me internally. And, my job is to like push forward and move on. But I root for people because that pain is so significant. And man, I hate letting go of really good people, but sometimes we don't have the role. We've hired them for the wrong role, and we don't have a role that we can switch them to where they can unleash their superpower. But on the other side, when you get somebody in a role and you align their superpower with the job that they do, it's like everything is easy, clouds part. Their numbers do this, they're excited to be there, they're working extra time, and it's fun for them. Like they're living in their creative space, they're having a lot of fun with their role, they're excited to come to the weekly meeting and report like, dude, I crushed it again.
Exactly.
They celebrate their team, they share praise, and they take all the responsibility. If we had cracked the code on hiring that every single time, we would just be in that business. But I think the key is, and I don't know that I'm great at this, but it's to hire slowly and fire quickly. It's really hard because I don't like to fire quickly, because usually we've hired a wonderful person. Like I would drink beers with them. I would get our kids together with that person. But in the role, it's the wrong role. And if you're on a 10x mindset, you have to let them go and help them get a job, give them a reference, try to make it positive. It's not always going to be right. But like, if you want to build a business, you can't be everybody's best friend as much as you want to.
It is hard because by notion of what you said, right? You're going to hire slow. So you've invested your time, the team's time in hiring this person. And if it doesn't work out, now you got to fire them. You're like, man, I just invested all this time in there's emotions there too. But what you said about letting them go if they're not right for the role, it reminds me of, and Cato, you probably remember, we both worked with the same senior consultant. That's what we call at MAP. It's kind of like the implementer for EOS. We call them senior consultants. Lee Froschizer, he used to coach us on this. He's like, look, if you have a wonderful person in the wrong seat on the bus, he's like, it's not good for them either. So you might hesitate to fire them, but they're probably not happy either. So it's better for both parties to say, you know what, man, you're great, or woman, you're great. Let's find you. We can help you find a different company or a different role or whatever it is. Like, this just isn't for you. And so they're going to be happier. You're going to be happier. The business will do better. So you just have to like break through that. That was helpful for me thinking about it. Like, they're probably, like you said, they're probably not happy either.
Yeah.
And if you,
I think that's probably true. It just feels so bad to get fired. And, I've been fired before.
Of course.
I know what that feels like. So, it's really hard to remember that like people will get to a better place. But be sensitive in that moment, like if you fire somebody, they will remember that forever. Yeah. They will never forget. And they will, from where they're at, you did that to them. It doesn't matter if their performance was good or not good, or they did something in the company party that there's no choice. Like whatever it is, you did that to them, and so take that moment seriously and like speak to that person with respect and understanding, and if you can help them in the future, I think it's a wonderful opportunity to repair the bridge a little bit.
Yeah. It's so fun. I watched I've seen a preview for Hard Knocks, that show with, behind the scenes of the NFL. And there's this one scene where it's like the head coach, he took the time himself to talk to one of the backup quarterbacks, or no, it was the player personnel guy. And he just, or the GM, the backup the quarterback walks into the room, the GM comes right behind me and goes, listen, before he even sits down, he goes, we got to let you go. and then just walks through everything with them, and the way it was handled was perfectly. But sometimes it's so hard to do, like you said. But you just have to make those. Lee used to teach us, Andrew, and Lee used to always ask us before we made a move on somebody. We'd say, were they were they trained properly? Were they onboarded properly? Were they coached properly? And important questions we have to ask ourselves, which gets back to what you said earlier, Kyle. Especially in the founder stage of a business, like we're the bottleneck, and we may not be able to do the things that need to get done to make that employee successful.
Yep.
And on that, I would say, like, if you can at all avoid it, don't hire your friends, don't hire family.
Never.
Because the business has to be able to survive that, and you're going to need those people's support, but not within the business. Because if they don't do well in the business, you don't want to lose them as part of your business and lose them as part of your family. It's so tempting because you know them so well and they're probably wonderful, but do everything you can to avoid making that mistake.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yep.
So looking at TerraSlate right now, if you could wave a magic wand and optimize one part of the business, what would it be?
Did you say optimize?
Yeah, like change. If there's something you could I could wave one and improve this tomorrow, what would it be?
Other than hiring, which we're in general good at, but what I would say is that we have a process and a procedure for almost everything in the business. I would love it if I could wave a magic wand and have everybody follow the process wholeheartedly from day one. A lot of times people come in at any level and they want to show their value by being like, y'all are doing it wrong. At my last company, we did it like this. This is how you should be doing it. Yeah. And I love their enthusiasm on that. But what I like best is when an employee comes in and learns our process and then masters that process before they say, here's what you're doing wrong. Because we've been at it 11 years, and it can be demotivating when somebody's like, oh, I got an idea. Cato's like, hey, Kyle, what about this? Hey, Kyle. And we've tried those ad nauseum, and we can't try it again for every new employee, even though it sounds like a good idea. And then later in their role, they're like, oh, I see exactly why we do it this way and not that way because it wasn't obvious. I wish we could get more folks to wholeheartedly dive in, master the process before trying to change it, because that's actually the way they can provide the most value. When they sort of skip through it and they're like, yeah, I don't really care about your process, I do it my own way. The integration takes much longer, and we get value out of that person slower, and they're less engaged because you're kind of working against each other versus with each other. When somebody comes in is like, give me the playbook, man, I want to learn this. And she or he figures it out, masters it, and then can come up and say, hey, I've got these thoughts. Here's my angle on this. Here's what I'm thinking. Then all of a sudden you have a conversation that's incredibly valuable because they're understanding it from a fully built foundation instead of just seeing little glimpses of it and then trying to point out the gaps. So that's what I would do is with my magic wand, have everybody follow the process, master it, and then tell me everything they can about how we could do it better.
I like that.
That's spoken just like Chris Ronzio would say it.
There you go.
There you go. Beautiful.
Well, one more question. We always ask everybody in the show, is there something unique that you guys do at TerraSlate, process, habit, ritual, whatever, that perhaps somebody listening might be able to take back and adopt into their business to improve something, in the same way that it helps you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So many things come to mind that I wish I could have told myself 10 years ago. I think it's really easy to paint with broad strokes on those types of questions, like say culture, and that is critically important to us, but it's really hard to apply something specific, and it's hard to say something specific enough for you to apply. So what I would say is figure out a way to move 10% faster than the competition and do it 10% better. You don't have to be 100 times better than your competition, and you probably can't. And if you could, it wouldn't last. Be 10% faster and 10% better, and work on that 1% a day or 1% a week or 1% a month, because you'll find ways in your own business to improve, but you'll say, ooh, that's too big. I'd love to do that, but we don't have the time or the money. We don't have the people. We don't have the resources.
Right.
But like, break it up. Like, what could we do? And this is like, I had a great call with a guy recently. He's a YouTuber, and his thing is like 10% better. And it makes it approachable. And have people say like, okay, what are we doing in this company that works? What are we doing that doesn't work? What should we stop doing? And then once you hear that, ask them like, okay, on the things that are working, what can we do that's 10% better? How can we make what's working 10% better? And then the things that aren't working, like, oh my gosh, how can we make that just 10% better? Like, we can't boil the ocean. We can't fix everything today. But like, what could we do that would make that problem 10% better if we can't just resolve it right now? Like, what would that look like? Or ask it backwards. Like, would it be crazy to see if we can make that issue just 10% better? And then let people talk and let them tell you and let them think through, like, you know what, like, you know, we can't chop down all the trees in the forest today, but what we could do is with this bare piece of land, we could plant the type of trees that we do want, or whatever the solution is. And sometimes just that little incremental step is all you need to break through the barrier and build the momentum that actually lets you boil the ocean or cut down the forest, you know, whatever it is. That's a huge initiative that seems impossible at first.
Good point.
I think that's great. That's great. Makes it more approachable for sure. Well, this has been great, Kyle. Thank you so much for your time and sharing it with us, and with some amazing content to bring back to the community and the audience. Before we wrap up, where can people go to learn more about the business or connect with you?
I actually have a question for you guys. Cato,
Yeah.
There's a Tupac song, I'm pretty sure, where he talks about Cato. Is that...
That's Cato Catley.
Wait.
Which Cato is that? Is that you?
Could be. It could be. I've got to find out. I got to look that up.
Dude, ChatGPT that, because like in my high school
Love that you got
phase,
the Tupac reference. There you go.
Yeah, I know you're talking about Cato in there. I know it. Maybe it's a different spelling. Anyway.
That's so funny.
Question. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIn user. It's Kyle Ewing. You know, let me know what I can do to help you. A lot of people don't ask. And if it's like, hey, Kyle, how did you get connected with Andrew and Cato and Tupac? You know, I'd love to get on that show too. Like, give me the opportunity to make an introduction for you. Like, find somebody in my network that I can pair you up with, or a question I can answer, because why not, right? Like, I try to answer every single one, and sometimes it's great for me too, because I make a new connection, and then we can be helpful for each other. And the way you build this business is people helping people. So that's what I'm all about.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate that. I'm going to go look up the Tupac reference immediately and get back to Cato on that. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will see you next time.